Hey there! So, if you look at the date of when this video was uploaded, you'll see that this has been posted well into the year of 2022. The 3DS and Wii U are dead. Well, Wii U's been dead well before the Switch even came out, but that's a whole other can of worms. While the online services for these platforms are still active, for now, as of the making of this video anyway, several parts for them are being shuttered between now and 2023. It is now no longer possible to make purchases using a credit card, and soon eShop gift cards will no longer be accepted. Hey, this is me from the future, and I kinda need to stop myself here for a moment because I took too long to make this video, and it turns out as of August 29th, 2022, you can't use eShop gift cards on the Wii U and 3DS eShop anymore. Please refer to the rest of the video though, because I do have some more information that it will be useful. Promise. Sorry for the delay. And then being able to make any kind of purchases will cease functioning in 2023. But what does any of that have to do with what you just saw at the beginning of the video, you might be asking? Well, as it turns out, the Pokemon Company kinda left out a very important detail that affects Pokemon transfers within Pokemon Bank. You see, Poké Transporter, an application that can only be downloaded when you have an active pass with Pokemon Bank, will no longer be available to download once the eShop shuts down to being open only to previously purchased downloads. Without Poké Transporter alone, you lose out on entire generations of older Pokemon to bring forward into later generations. But I'm kinda getting ahead of myself here. I've decided to make this video as a means of sharing with everyone what they should grab a hold of from the eShop before it ends. As it turns out, we'll be losing even more than just Pokemon we've collected from generations 1 through 5. Hopefully, this will help you out with collecting any Pokemon you might have ended up missing out on along the way, specifically special Pokemon. First things first, if you haven't done so already, you're going to want to link your Nintendo Network ID to your Nintendo account. This will allow you to link your two wallets together so that you can use funds placed into your Nintendo account on your 3DS and Wii U. Just head over to your region's Nintendo homepage and click on Login/Sign Up. This is what it looks like on the North American homepage. Once you've logged into your Nintendo account, head over to Account Settings. From there, you can link your 3DS and Wii U's Nintendo Network ID to your Nintendo account. Now you don't have to worry about not being able to use a debit or credit card or letting unused eShop cards go to waste. Once you have your accounts linked up, the very first thing you should do is grab Pokemon Bank. This will allow you to store and transfer almost every Pokemon you have and will obtain later down the line between Pokemon X, Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon. Bank also connects with Pokemon Home on the Switch, which will allow you to transfer some Pokemon into Sword, Shield, and the upcoming Scarlet and Violet. While the Pokemon Company has said Pokemon Bank will become a free-to-use application, there's a caveat to this. Pokemon Transporter will not be available to anyone who chooses to wait for Bank to be free before using it. Transporter is only available to download when you have an active subscription to Bank. If you don't subscribe to Bank and then later download Transporter, you'll be locked out of transferring Pokemon from earlier generations. This includes the Virtual Console releases of Red, Green, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. It also means anything you've transferred from the Game Boy Advance games, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green, or the DS games, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black, and White, into Black 2 and White 2, will be incapable of being able to be transferred into the 6th and 7th generations. Now, while Pokemon Bank does have a subscription fee, that fee is an annual one. That means you'll only need to pay just one fee right now before the service goes free to use, giving you a chance to download Pokemon Transporter. Unlike the monthly fee to use Pokemon Home, Bank's annual fee is ridiculously cheap, being the following in each territory. Even though I said earlier that Pokemon from Black and White would be locked out from not using Transporter, that's not 100% true. While you can use Black and White with the Transporter, You're ultimately going to want to have everything from Generation 3 to Black and White transferred and traded up into Black 2 and White 2 for the next app, as it only communicated with the latter two games. The next game you're going to want to grab is Pokémon Dream Radar. This was an early 3DS game during the 5th generation that made use of the 3DS's camera to allow players to catch various Pokémon to transfer into their copies of Black 2 and White 2. This was also the original way of obtaining the Therian forms of Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. Catching these Pokémon and transferring them into Black 2 and White 2 reveals that they're inside of Dream Balls, which were only available to those obtained from the Dream World prior to Generation 8. Not only this, but they also had their hidden abilities, save for the Kami trio. After you've managed to capture Landorus, inserting any of the 5 Generation 4 cartridges in the 3DS's game slot would unlock a new route to capture the cover art Pokémon. Diamond for Dialga, Pearl for Palkia, Platinum for Giratina, Heart Gold for Ho-Oh, and Soul Silver for Lugia. Do note that you can only catch and transfer one of each legendary per save file, so if you want to bring in more, you'll have to delete your Dream Radar save and start all over again. Next, let's move back to the first generation of games. While you can technically transfer the first 151 Pokémon from Pokémon Go directly to Pokémon Home, you do lose out on something important: hidden abilities. When you transfer Pokémon from Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow through Pokémon Transporter, you'll see that most of the Pokémon have their hidden abilities. This is the easiest way to get Pokémon like the Kanto starters with Chlorophyll, Solar Power, and Rain Dish, Pikachu and Raichu with Lightning Rod, the Abra Evolution line with Magic Guard, Gyarados with Moxie, Ditto with Imposter, Articuno with Snow Cloak, Zapdos with Static, Moltres with Flame Body, and Dragonite with Multiscale. Not only this, but transferring Pokémon from previous generations allows Pokémon to have moves they normally couldn't learn in later generations due to differing TMs and move tuners. And sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you can't change a Pokémon's ability if it has its hidden ability. So that means you can't have a Machamp that knows Fissure from Gen 1 and has the No Guard ability. Transferring from Gen 1 gives it the Steadfast ability. And just like with Generation 1, everything I mentioned also applies to the second generation of games: Pokémon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Almost every Pokémon transferred from these games through Pokémon Transporter will have their hidden abilities, as well as some having moves they normally won't be able to learn later on. Some of the notable Pokémon to bring over to get their hidden abilities include the Johto region starters to get Leaf Guard, Flash Fire, and Sheer Force, Cleffa and Clefairy with Friend Guard, Politoed with Drizzle, Espeon with Magic Bounce, Murkrow with Prankster, Gligar with Immunity, Quillfish with Intimidate, Swinub and Piloswine with Thick Fat, Smeargle with Moody, the legendary beasts with Inner Focus, Lugia with Multiscale, Ho-Oh with Regenerator, and Wooper with Unaware to pull off shenanigans like so.
What is happening? What the dog doing?
But that's not all. With these 3 games, you have access to a guaranteed shiny Gyarados, which will also have Moxie when transferred up. And exclusive to Crystal, upon completing the game, you'll unlock what was once exclusive to Japanese players with the GB mobile device, the GS Ball event to capture Celebi. Speaking of Crystal, it unfortunately has an issue with Pokémon Transporter where the Pokémon hatched via the Odd Egg Pichu, Cleffa, Igglybuff, Tyrogue, Smoochum, Elekid, and Magby, cannot be transferred as long as they have the move Dizzy Punch. Game Freak never issued a patch to fix this, as Transporter considers these Pokemon and their evolutions to be modified to have a move they normally can't learn. So if you want to transfer them, you'll have to replace the move or delete it. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire made their way onto the 3DS during the 6th generation, and for the first time, Game Freak distributed a free demo for players to download directly from the eShop. It gave players their first taste of the Hoenn region in 3D, as well as how the new Mega Evolutions for the starter trio of that region play. As you play the demo, you unlock a few items and a Pokemon that you can transfer to your full copy of Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire to help along your journey. The Pokemon you can transfer over also differs based on the region your 3DS is from. Players with the 3DS from North America, Europe, South Korea, and Australia will be able to transfer a Glalie with a Glalie attached to it, so it can Mega Evolve into Mega Glalie, while Japanese 3DS players get access to a Steelix with a Steelixite attached to it, so it can Mega Evolve into Mega Steelix. They're both at level 40, and though they have no special moves or hidden abilities, it makes obtaining them for your Pokédex a little easier. Just like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon also received a demo prior to its release, and like the previous demo, this one allows you to transfer over items and a Pokemon you can obtain after completing the demo. However, unlike the previous one, the Pokemon you receive here is very special. You can transfer a level 36 Greninja that has an ability you cannot obtain anywhere else, Battle Bond. Upon defeating an opposing Pokemon, Greninja will transform into Ash-Greninja, based on the same form seen in the X, Y, and Z anime, and it'll boost the power of Water Shuriken. This Greninja has a similar moveset as Ash's did, wielding Water Shuriken, Aerial Ace, Double Team, and Night Slash instead of Cut. Its OT is Ash, and the ID is based on the date the episode Ash caught it on aired in Japan, and it has a souvenir ribbon.
If all those details are a bit overwhelming, here's a short summary of what you'll need to do and what to download before the 3DS and Wii U eShop shut down. If you haven't already, link your Nintendo Network ID to your Nintendo account so you can share funds deposited into your Nintendo account and use them on your 3DS and Wii U. If you've already done this, you can then move on to your first purchase. First, download Pokemon Bank and purchase a pass. While Bank is free to download, you will need a paid pass to use its services. Having an active paid pass will allow you to download Pokemon Transporter. Waiting until Bank becomes a free service will prevent you from being able to download Transporter if you do not already have it installed on your 3DS. This will lock you out of transferring any Pokemon from any game prior to the 3DS generations. Next, if you own either Pokemon Black 2 and or Pokemon White 2, purchase and download Pokemon Dream Radar to obtain various Pokemon, including legendaries like Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus, all in their Therian forms. While you don't need to purchase each game from the first two generations, having Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal will allow you to transfer Pokemon from Kanto and Johto with their hidden abilities and moves they're not likely able to learn in later generations. Gold, Silver, and Crystal also provide the easiest method to obtaining a shiny Gyarados. Unlike the other games mentioned, the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Sun and Moon demos are free to download and play. Completing the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire demo will allow you to transfer either a Glalie with a Glalie or a Steelix with a Steelixite, so they can Mega Evolve in the full games. Completing the Sun and Moon demo will allow you to transfer a special Greninja with the ability Battle Bond, which will allow it to change into Ash-Greninja upon defeating a Pokemon. While we did mention the Wii U briefly before, this video only covers everything needed for the 3DS. Sadly, there is a reason for this. The Wii U has a few spin-off titles that were re-released for its own virtual console, while While those games originally had ways to connect with the mainline games to transfer gift Pokémon into them, they unfortunately cannot do so through the Wii U. Though we didn't cover them for this video due to this inability to connect with the mainline games, you definitely can't go wrong checking out the Pokémon Ranger games, the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games, and Pokémon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, which are all on the Wii U. Also, be sure to give Pokémon Puzzle Challenge and Pokémon Trading Card Game on the 3DS a chance.
And there you have it, everything you need to do, purchase, and look out for with everything on the 3DS eShop before its closure next year. Grabbing everything we mentioned will have you covered on the digital side of things. As I'm sure you've noticed, we didn't even scrape the surface on other Pokemon to unlock and transfer, as those required the physical games. So, in a future video, we'll be diving all the way back to the Game Boy Advance and GameCube era, and make our way back up to the 3DS era, detailing every important or special Pokemon you'll want to look into transferring up to home to prepare for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We won't be covering Pokemon you could only obtain via wireless or Wi-Fi events, so there won't be any mention of Faraway Island Mew from Pokemon Emerald, or from discontinued services like Pokemon from the Dream World for Generation 5, or My Pokemon Ranch from the Wii Shop channel. However, there'll still be plenty of Pokemon to look forward to grabbing that you might not have realized were hidden under your noses this whole time.